Marcus Chen stood in the doorway of his dining room at 2:30 on a Thursday afternoon and forgot how to breathe. His sons were eating, not the pureed mush in their specialized bowls, not the carefully measured formula through their feeding tubes. They were eating real food, solid food, chicken, rice, vegetables cut into small pieces that they were picking up with their own hands and putting into their mouths, chewing, swallowing, laughing between bites. For 4 years, every doctor, every specialist, every therapist had said the same thing. Ethan and Evan would never eat solid food. Their low muscle tone, their oral motor difficulties, the sensory issues that came with Down syndrome, it all added up to a life of purées and feeding tubes and constant fear of choking. Marcus had spent hundreds of thousands on specialists who confirmed what the first doctor told him when the boys were 18 months old. "I'm sorry, Mr. Chen, their swallowing reflex is too weak. Solid food would be dangerous, potentially fatal. This is permanent." But somehow, right now, his 4-year-old sons were eating fried chicken, and she was there. The woman he'd hired 3 weeks ago, Rosa Martinez, the housekeeper who came with no special credentials, no therapy degrees, just references from 3 families in Queens and a quiet voice that said she'd worked with children before. She sat between the twins, her brown hands patient and gentle, demonstrating how to chew slowly, how to take small bites, how to drink water between mouthfuls. Her voice was soft, encouraging, speaking to them in English mixed with Spanish. "Bueno, Ethan, good boy. Pequeño bocado, small bite. That's it, mi amor. You're doing so good." Evan reached for another piece of chicken. Rosa guided his hand gently, breaking it into a smaller piece. "Not too big, cariño. Little pieces for little mouths." Marcus's vision blurred. His chest cracked open. He gripped the doorframe so hard his knuckles went white, because if he didn't hold on to something, he was going to collapse right there on his Italian marble floor. His phone slipped from his hand. The sound made Rosa turn. Her face went white. "Mr. Chen." She stood so fast her chair scraped against the floor. "I didn't know. You weren't supposed to be home until 6. Marcus couldn't speak, couldn't form words, could only stare at his sons, at the food on their plates, at the impossible thing happening in his own dining room. Ethan noticed him then. His small face lit up. "Dada!" He held up a piece of chicken, proud, excited. "Look, eating." The word came out slightly slurred, the way all of Ethan's words did, but it was clear enough. He was eating, and he was telling his father about it. Marcus's knees buckled. He caught himself against the doorframe, one hand pressed to his mouth, tears streaming down his face faster than he could control them. Rosa moved toward him, uncertain, scared. "Mr. Chen, I can explain. I know you said to follow the meal plan exactly, but they were ready, and I've been working with them slowly, and—" "How long?" His voice came out broken, barely above a whisper. "Sir, how long have they been eating like this?" Rosa's hands twisted together. 2 weeks. We started with very soft things, mashed banana, scrambled eggs. Then we moved to small pieces. I've been very careful, I promise. I watch them constantly. I know the Heimlich. I've never let them—" 2 weeks. Marcus repeated the words like they were in a foreign language. "They've been eating real food for 2 weeks and nobody told me." The accusation hung in the air. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. "I wanted to tell you, but you're never home, and when you are, you don't—" She stopped herself. "I'm sorry, that's not my place." "Say it." Marcus pushed himself upright, moved into the room on 2 legs that felt like they belonged to someone else. "Say what you were going to say." She looked down. "When you're home, you don't really look at them, not the way you used to. I've seen the photos around the house. From before, you were different then." The truth of it hit like a fist. Marcus sank into the chair across from his sons. Ethan and Evan watched him with wide eyes, uncertain now, sensing the tension. "Dada sad?" Evan asked. Marcus looked at his son, this beautiful boy with almond-shaped eyes and a smile that used to light up every room. When had he stopped seeing that smile? When had he stopped being present enough to witness miracles? Dada's not sad, buddy. Marcus's voice cracked. Dada's just surprised. Surprise good? Ethan tilted his head. Yeah, baby, surprise very good. Rosa sat back down slowly, watching Marcus like she expected him to explode, to fire her, to do something terrible. Instead, Marcus reached across the table and took a piece of chicken from Ethan's plate. He held it up, studying it like it contained the secrets of the universe. Show me, he said quietly. Show me what you've been doing. 3 weeks earlier, the agency sent Rosa Martinez on a Wednesday morning in late September. Marcus barely looked at her during the interview. He was on his 4th cup of coffee, hadn't slept more than 3 hours, and had a conference call with Hong Kong starting in 20 minutes. The last housekeeper had quit 2 days ago, number 11, in 3 years. And he needed someone, anyone, who could keep the house running and handle the twins' complex care routine without falling apart. You understand this isn't a typical housekeeping position, Mrs. Patterson, his estate manager, explained. She sat across from Rosa in the library while Marcus paced by the window, half listening, mostly thinking about the quarterly projections he needed to review. The Chen household requires someone who can manage both household duties and assist with the children's specialized care. Rosa sat with her hands folded in her lap. She was maybe 40, maybe younger, hard to tell. Dark hair pulled back in a simple bun. Worn but clean clothes. No jewelry except a small gold cross on a chain. She had the look of someone who'd worked hard her entire life and expected nothing but more hard work ahead. I understand, Rosa said softly. I've worked with special needs children before. The twins have Down syndrome, Mrs. Patterson continued, reading from her clipboard. They're 4 years old. They require feeding tubes for nutrition, have limited verbal communication, and need constant supervision. They also have sensory issues, low muscle tone, and are prone to respiratory infections. Are you comfortable with medical equipment? Feeding tubes, oxygen monitors, emergency protocols? Yes, ma'am. The previous caregivers left for various reasons. Mrs. Patterson's voice went flat. Some found the work too demanding. Others... She glanced at Marcus. Others stole from me, Marcus said, not turning from the window. His voice was cold, matter-of-fact. Or leaked information to tabloids about my family. Or decided that helping meant calling photographers when they took my sons to the park. Or quit the day before Christmas because they got a better offer. Or, Mr. Chen. Mrs. Patterson's voice held a warning. He turned then, looked at Rosa directly for the first time. I'm not interested in someone who sees my sons as a paycheck or a story to sell. I'm not interested in bonding or connection or whatever emotional labor you think this job requires. I need someone competent who can follow protocols, keep the house clean, and make sure my children don't die while I'm at work. Can you do that? The bluntness of it should have made her flinch. Rosa just looked at him with dark eyes that held something he couldn't quite name. Not pity, not judgment. Understanding, maybe. The kind that comes from knowing grief up close. I can do that, Mr. Chen. The salary is $80,000 a year, room and board included if you want to live on-site, health insurance, 2 weeks vacation. You'll work Monday through Friday, 7 to 6. Weekends off unless there's an emergency. That's very generous, sir. It's not generous, it's what the job is worth. He moved away from the window, gathered his laptop and phone. Mrs. Patterson will show you the house and go over the care protocols. You start tomorrow, don't be late. He walked out without waiting for her response. In the hallway he paused, pressed his palm against the wall and closed his eyes. He was so tired. Tired of interviewing people, tired of hoping they'd stay, tired of his sons getting attached only to watch another caregiver walk away, tired of being the kind of father who hired someone else to love his children because he'd forgotten how to do it himself. but he didn't have time to fall apart. Hong Kong was calling in 12 minutes. Marcus Chen had built a tech empire from nothing. At 43, he was worth $2.3 billion. He had homes in 3 countries, a jet, a yacht he never used, and a company that employed 15,000 people. None of it meant anything, not since Amanda died. That first afternoon, Rosa moved through the house like she'd been doing it her whole life. Mrs. Patterson showed her everything: the industrial kitchen, the laundry systems, the children's specialized equipment, the feeding schedules, the medication logs, the emergency protocols. Rosa took notes in a small spiral notebook, asked questions, nodded when she understood. "The twins are in the playroom," Mrs. Patterson said. "They're with their behavioral therapist right now. Session ends at 4. After that, it's feeding time, then bath, then bed by 7:30. Very strict routine. Mr. Chen insists on it." "May I meet them?" Mrs. Patterson hesitated. "Mr. Chen prefers minimal interaction with new staff until he's certain they're staying. The last 3 quit within the first week." "I'm not going to quit." Something in Rosa's voice made Mrs. Patterson study her more carefully. "Why do you want this job? The pay is good, but the work is hard. The hours are long, and Mr. Chen—" She trailed off. "Is grieving," Rosa finished quietly. "I can see it in his eyes, in the way he holds himself, like he's barely keeping it together." Mrs. Patterson's face softened. "His wife died 3 years ago. Car accident. Ethan and Evan were 18 months old. Since then he's—" She sighed. "He's not the same man. Grief does that. You sound like you know." Rosa's hand went to the cross at her throat. "I do." They stood in the hallway, 2 women who understood loss in ways that couldn't be explained to people who'd never felt it. "The playroom is this way," Mrs. Patterson said finally, "but just to observe. Don't try to interact yet." Rosa followed her down a wide hallway lined with photos. She slowed, studying them as they passed. A younger Marcus Chen, smiling, eyes bright, holding 2 tiny newborns. A beautiful woman beside him, Amanda must be, with long dark hair and joy radiating from every part of her face. The twins as babies, chubby and happy, surrounded by toys and love. A family photo at the beach, everyone laughing, faces turned toward the sun. Then the photos stopped. The rest of the hallway was bare walls, like the family's story had ended 3 years ago, and no one had bothered to write new chapters. The playroom was enormous, easily 500 square feet. Soft foam mats covered the floor, toys organized by type in clear bins, a sensory table, swings hanging from reinforced ceiling beams. Everything top of the line, everything therapeutic, everything designed by professionals to help children with developmental delays. And in the center of all that expensive equipment sat Ethan and Evan, alone in their separate corners, not playing with any of it. The behavioral therapist, a young woman with a tablet and a clinical expression, was packing up her materials. "Same as always," she said to Mrs. Patterson. "Minimal engagement. I tried the visual schedule, the token system, the preferred activities. Nothing motivates them. Honestly, I'm not sure there's much more I can do without pharmaceutical intervention. Have you considered anxiety medication? Mr. Chen hasn't approved that yet." "Well, maybe it's time to push harder. These boys are significantly behind where they should be developmentally without more aggressive intervention." "Thank you, Dr. Williams. Same time next week?" The therapist left, barely glancing at the twins. Rosa stood at the doorway, watching. Ethan sat by the window, rocking slightly, humming a tuneless sound. He had a toy car in his hand but wasn't playing with it, just holding it, tracing the wheels with one finger over and over. Evan was across the room, lying on his side, staring at nothing, his feeding tube taped to his cheek, his small body curled in on itself like he was trying to disappear. They were beautiful. Both of them had Amanda's dark eyes, Marcus's straight black hair. They wore matching blue shirts and soft pants, clean, cared for, provided for, but empty. Like their father, they'd stopped living 3 years ago. Rosa's chest ached. She'd seen this before, after the fire, after losing Gabriel, after the state took him away because she was just his aunt, not his legal guardian, and they said she wasn't fit, wasn't stable, didn't have the resources. She'd watched him shut down exactly like this. Stop playing, stop talking, stop hoping that anyone would show up who actually saw him. "Can I go in?" Rosa asked quietly. Mrs. Patterson looked uncertain. "Mr. Chen said—" "I know what he said, but those boys are alone. The therapist was just—" "She wasn't with them, she was at them." Rosa turned to face Mrs. Patterson. "There's a difference." Mrs. Patterson studied Rosa's face, then sighed. 5 minutes, and if Mr. Chen asks, you tell him it was my idea." Rosa stepped into the playroom. She didn't approach the boys directly, didn't announce herself or make a big entrance. Just moved to the toy bins, started quietly organizing them, humming softly while she worked. An old hymn her abuela used to sing, de colores se visten los campos en la primavera. Ethan's rocking slowed, his head turned slightly, listening. Rosa kept humming, kept organizing. She picked up a puzzle with farm animals, sat down on the mat, not close to either boy but visible to both, and started working on it. "I used to do puzzles with my nephew," she said softly, speaking to no one in particular. "He loved the animal ones, always wanted to do the pig piece first, said pigs were the smartest." She placed a piece, then another. Evan shifted. Not much, just uncurled slightly, eyes tracking her movements. "This cow piece goes here, I think, and this chicken—" She held it up, turned it around. "Where does the chicken go?" Ethan stood up, slowly, carefully. He walked toward her. Not all the way, stopped about 3 feet away, but closer than he'd been. Rosa pretended not to notice, just kept working on the puzzle, kept humming. "Oh, there it is. The chicken goes in the barn. Claro." Ethan took one more step, then another, until he was right beside her, close enough to see the puzzle. He reached out one small hand and picked up the pig piece. Rosa's throat tightened, but she kept her face neutral. "Ah, you found the pig. Smart choice. Pigs are the best." Ethan placed the pig carefully in its spot, then looked up at her, waiting. "Perfecto," Rosa said softly. "You're very good at this." The smallest smile touched his lips. Across the room, Evan sat up, and in the doorway where they couldn't see her, Mrs. Patterson pressed her hand to her chest and thought, maybe this one will stay. That first week, Rosa learned the rhythms of the house. 6 a.m., she woke in the small guest room on the 3rd floor. Simple space, bed, dresser, window overlooking the garden. Nothing like the mansion's opulence, but clean and comfortable, and hers. By 6:30, she was in the kitchen starting breakfast. Not for the twins, they couldn't eat breakfast, not real breakfast, but for Marcus and the small household staff. Mrs. Patterson, who managed the estate, James, the groundskeeper, Marie, who came twice a week for deep cleaning. At 7, Marcus came down. Always in a suit, always carrying his laptop and phone, always looking like he'd barely slept. He'd pour coffee, stand at the counter checking emails, occasionally glance toward the playroom where the twins were just waking up. He never went in. Rosa noticed that first, the way he avoided his own children. By 7:30, he was gone. Off to his office in Manhattan, 45 minutes away, sometimes not returning until 9 or 10 at night, long after the boys were asleep. The twins' day followed strict protocols. 8 a.m. feeding through their tubes, carefully measured formula, 30 minutes each child, watch for reflux. 9 a.m. medications, 3 for Ethan, 2 for Evan, all logged in a binder. 9:30 therapy session, speech on Monday and Wednesday, occupational on Tuesday and Thursday, physical on Friday. 11 a.m. another tube feeding. Noon, quiet time. 1 p.m. more therapy. 3 p.m. another feeding. 4 p.m. free play. 5:30 bath. 6 p.m. Final feeding, 7 p.m., bed. The schedule was rigid, clinical, designed by professionals, and it was killing them. Rosa saw it immediately. The way the twins went through the motions without joy, without engagement, without hope. The therapists came and went, marked their charts, reported minimal progress, and left. No one actually played with Ethan and Evan. No one sang to them or told them stories or sat on the floor and built block towers just to knock them down. No one treated them like children instead of patients. On her third day, Rosa broke protocol. It was lunchtime, 11 a.m., tube feeding scheduled. She had both boys in the kitchen, had prepared their formula exactly as the chart specified. But she also made herself lunch. Scrambled eggs, toast, fresh fruit. She sat at the kitchen table with her plate, the twins in their specialized chairs nearby. Tubes ready. "You know what?" Rosa said conversationally, picking up her fork. "These eggs smell really good. My abuela taught me how to make them. She said the secret is low heat and patience. Never rush eggs." She took a bite, closed her eyes. Still got it." Ethan watched her. His eyes tracked the fork from plate to mouth. Rosa took another bite, narrated while she chewed. "Warm, soft, a little butter, very good." She offered a tiny piece on her fork, not to Ethan's mouth, just held it out where he could see it. "Want a smell?" Mrs. Patterson, passing through the kitchen, stopped. "Rosa, you can't." "Just letting him smell, Mrs. Patterson, that's all." Ethan leaned forward. Rosa held the fork closer. He sniffed, pulled back, sniffed again. His mouth opened slightly, not asking, just interested. Rosa pulled the fork back, ate the bite herself. "Maybe someday, mi amor, when you're ready." She finished her lunch, cleaned up, then did the tube feedings exactly as scheduled. But something had shifted. She'd seen it in Ethan's eyes. Curiosity, the first step to everything. By the end of week 1, Rosa had learned the twins' personalities. Ethan was the bold one, more willing to try new things, more vocal, more likely to reach out first. He loved the color blue, hummed when he was happy, and had surprisingly good fine motor skills when he was actually interested in something. Evan was quieter, watched everything, took longer to trust. But once he did, once you earned your way past his walls, he was deeply affectionate. He'd lean against you while you read to him, rest his head on your shoulder, give these soft sighs that meant he felt safe. Neither boy spoke much. A few words, dada, no, more, but mostly they communicated through sounds and gestures. The feeding tubes were constant. Every 3 hours, formula pumped directly into their stomachs. The doctors had said their oral motor skills were too weak, their sensory issues too severe, their risk of choking too high. Rosa watched them during feedings, watched their faces, saw no distress, no discomfort, no medical reason they couldn't eat. Just no one had tried. Not really tried. Not with patience and faith and the belief that these boys could do more than everyone said they could. On Friday of that first week, Rosa was cleaning the library when she found the photo albums. 6 of them, leather-bound, tucked away on a high shelf, like Marcus couldn't stand to look at them, but couldn't bring himself to throw them away. She shouldn't have opened them, but she did. The first album was the pregnancy, Amanda's growing belly, Marcus's hand on it, both of them glowing with joy, the baby shower, the nursery being painted, 2 of everything, 2 cribs, 2 changing tables, 2 of every tiny outfit. The second album was the birth. Ethan and Evan, minutes old, tiny and perfect. Amanda holding them, exhausted and radiant. Marcus crying, kissing his wife's forehead, staring at his sons like he couldn't believe they were real. The third album was the first year, every milestone documented. First smile, first laugh, first time holding their own bottles. Christmas. First birthday. 2 cakes, 2 high chairs, 2 boys covered in frosting. Then the fourth album, the diagnosis. Photos of the boys at 18 months at the genetics clinic getting tested. Marcus and Amanda in the waiting room holding hands. Then a photo of just Amanda, holding both twins, her face a mixture of fierce love and absolute determination. A newspaper article tucked into the album, Tech Billionaire's wife dies in traffic accident. And after that, the albums were mostly empty. A few photos from the funeral, Marcus holding the twins, both boys crying, all three of them destroyed. Some pictures from their second birthday, clearly taken by staff, everyone going through the motions. Then nothing. For 2 years, nothing. Like the family had died along with Amanda. Rosa closed the albums with shaking hands, wiped her eyes, and made a decision. These boys deserved better. They deserved a father who showed up, a life that included joy, a future that wasn't defined by what doctors said they couldn't do. And if Marcus Chen was too buried in his grief to fight for them, then Rosa would fight instead. She just had to figure out how. Week 2 started with scrambled eggs. Rosa made them for herself at breakfast, sat at the kitchen table with the twins nearby in their chairs. She didn't offer, didn't push, just ate slowly, talking to herself about how good they were, how her abuela made them every Sunday morning, how the smell always meant home. Ethan watched every bite. On Tuesday she held out her fork. Want to smell again? He leaned forward immediately, sniffed. His mouth opened. Rosa touched the tiniest piece, smaller than a pea, to his bottom lip. Just touched it. Let him feel the texture, the warmth. He pulled back, made a face, but didn't cry, didn't reject it completely. Progress. Wednesday, she did it again. This time, Ethan let the tiny piece sit on his lip for 3 seconds before pulling away. Thursday, he opened his mouth. Rosa's heart hammered against her ribs. She placed the smallest amount of egg on his tongue, barely anything, just enough to taste. Ethan's eyes went wide. He didn't know what to do with it, held it in his mouth, uncertain. It's okay, mi amor. You can spit it out if you don't like it. He didn't spit, didn't swallow either, just held it there, processing. Finally, after 30 seconds that felt like hours, he swallowed. Rosa had to turn away so he wouldn't see her crying. Friday, Ethan ate 3 small bites of scrambled eggs. Evan watched the whole thing, curious but not ready yet. That was okay. Rosa knew better than to rush. By the end of week 2, Ethan was eating soft foods at every meal. Mashed banana, overcooked pasta, tiny pieces of very soft bread. Never much, a few bites here and there, but eating, actually eating. His feeding tube stayed in. Rosa didn't touch the medical protocols, still did every scheduled tube feeding exactly as the chart required. But between feedings she offered tastes, tiny amounts, always patient, never forcing. And Ethan kept trying. Evan took longer, watched his brother for days before finally on a Tuesday morning reaching toward Rosa's plate. She gave him the same thing she'd given Ethan, the tiniest taste of scrambled eggs. He made a worse face than his brother had, but he didn't spit it out either. By week 3, both boys were eating small amounts of solid food, and Rosa still hadn't told Marcus. Not because she wanted to hide it, because he was never there. Left before the boys woke up, came home after they were asleep. The few times their paths crossed, he barely looked at her, just asked if everything was fine, if there were any emergencies. She wanted to tell him, wanted to say, "Your sons are doing something impossible." But the words stuck every time because she saw the emptiness in his eyes, the way he'd armored himself against hope. What if she told him and he didn't care? What if she told him and he shut it down, called doctors who'd say it was too dangerous, make her stop? Better to wait, to let the boys get stronger first, to have proof that couldn't be denied. On Thursday afternoon of week 3, Rosa decided they were ready for the next step. Real food, a full meal, not just tastes. She made fried chicken, her abuela's recipe. Simple, tender, the kind that falls apart in your mouth. Rice cooked soft, vegetables steamed until they were practically mush. She cut everything into pieces smaller than her pinky nail. At 2 o'clock, she set up the dining room, put the boys in their regular chairs, not their medical feeding chairs, just normal chairs with booster seats. Set plates in front of them with tiny portions, sat between them. Okay, Miss Guerreros, today we're having a real lunch, like a family. Ethan looked at his plate with wide eyes. So much food, more than he'd ever tried before. We're going to go slow, Rosa said calmly. Small bites. Chew very carefully. Drink water after each bite, and if you feel scared or don't like it, we stop, okay? Both boys nodded. Rosa picked up a tiny piece of chicken. Watch me first. Small bite. Into my mouth. Chew, 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 swallow, water. She demonstrated each step slowly. Your turn, Ethan. He picked up a piece with his fingers, looked at it, put it in his mouth, chewed once, twice. His face scrunched up, concentrating hard. Swallowed. Bueno, Rosa clapped softly. Very good. Now water. He drank from his sippy cup. Evan, you try. Evan was more hesitant, but he followed his brother's lead. Picked up a piece, ate it, swallowed. They went slow. So slow, each bite took minutes. Rosa watched them constantly, ready to intervene if anyone choked, if anyone showed distress. But they didn't. They ate. For 45 minutes they ate real food, not much, maybe 3 tablespoons each, but they ate it, chewed it, swallowed it, drank water, did everything right. When they finished, both boys looked at Rosa with something she hadn't seen before, pride. They knew they'd done something big. I'm so proud of you, Rosa whispered, kissing both their foreheads. So proud. That's when she heard it. The sound of something dropping. She turned. Marcus Chen stood in the doorway, phone on the floor at his feet, face white as paper, staring at his sons like he'd just witnessed the resurrection. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. The silence stretched for 10 seconds that felt like 10 years. Marcus couldn't move, couldn't speak, could only stare at the plates on the table, at the food in them, real food, solid food, at his sons' faces, mouths still working, chewing, doing something every specialist in 3 states had said was medically impossible. Mr. Chen, Rosa stood, hands trembling. I can explain. How long? His voice came out destroyed. 2 weeks. I've been very careful. 2 weeks. He moved into the room like a sleepwalker, sank into a chair, put his head in his hands. 2 weeks and nobody told me. You're never here, Rosa said quietly. The words landed like stones. Dada! Ethan held up a piece of chicken. Look! Marcus looked up. His son, his beautiful son who hadn't smiled at him in months, was grinning, excited, wanting to share this moment. You're eating, Marcus whispered. Eating, Ethan confirmed. Rosa teach. Something in Marcus's chest cracked open. He reached across the table with a shaking hand, touched Ethan's face like he was checking if he was real. Show me, he said, looking at Rosa. Show me everything. She did. Explained how she'd started with tastes, how she'd let them smell food first, get curious, want to try, how she'd never forced, never rushed, just offered patience and belief that they could do it. The doctors said, Marcus started. The doctors were wrong, Rosa said firmly. Or maybe they weren't wrong 3 years ago, but children grow, they change. These boys are stronger than anyone gave them credit for. Marcus looked at his sons, really looked at them for the first time in months. They'd grown. When had that happened? Ethan's face had thinned out. Evan's hair had gotten longer. They looked less like babies and more like little boys. How much had he missed? I need to call their specialists, Marcus said, pulling out his phone. Get them evaluated. Make sure this is safe. Mr. Chen, Rosa's voice stopped him. With respect, your sons just ate a full meal. They're fine. They're more than fine. Maybe before you call doctors to tell you all the reasons this shouldn't work, you just sit with them. Be here. See what they can do. Marcus stared at her. This woman he'd barely looked at 3 weeks ago. This woman who'd accomplished in days what he'd spent hundreds of thousands trying to achieve. Why did you do this? He asked. You could have just followed the protocols. Done what I hired you to do. Why risk it? Rosa's eyes filled with tears. Because I looked at your sons and I saw my nephew. After the fire, after I lost custody, everyone said he'd never recover. Said the trauma was too deep. Said he needed medications and institutions and all these things that made him sound broken. She wiped her eyes. But he wasn't broken. He was just scared and alone. And he needed someone to believe in him. What happened to him? He's 9 now, lives with a foster family in New Jersey, thriving. She smiled through tears. I get to see him twice a month. He's not broken anymore. Marcus felt something shift in his chest. And my sons? They're not broken either, Mr. Chen. They just needed someone to show up. The accusation in those words was gentle but unmistakable. Before Marcus could respond, Evan reached across the table, touched his father's hand. Dada eat? He asked softly. Marcus looked at the plate in front of him. Food his sons had just eaten, food he'd been told they'd never be able to eat, and he realized Evan was offering to share. His 4-year-old son was offering to share a miracle. Yeah, buddy, Marcus whispered, voice breaking. Dada, eat. He picked up a tiny piece of chicken, put it in his mouth, chewed slowly. It tasted like hope. The next morning, Marcus canceled his meetings, all of them, the board presentation, the investor calls, the trip to San Francisco. He sent one email to his executive team, working from home indefinitely. Handle it. At 7 a.m., he was in the kitchen when Rosa arrived. She stopped in the doorway, surprised. Mr. Chen, Marcus, he said. Please, just Marcus. She nodded slowly. The boys will be up soon. I know, I want to help with breakfast. For the first time in 3 years, Marcus fed his sons breakfast. Well, Rosa fed them. He watched, learned. Small bites of oatmeal, pieces of banana, sips of milk from regular cups, not bottles. They ate slowly, carefully. Ethan made a mess. Evan needed encouragement, but they ate. And Marcus was there to see it. That afternoon, his mother arrived unannounced. Catherine Chen was 70, elegant, and had opinions about everything. She walked into the dining room where Rosa was cleaning up after lunch and stopped cold. Marcus, she said, voice sharp, a word. In his study, she didn't waste time. Who is that woman? Rosa, she's helping with the boys. I can see that, but Marcus, the boys are eating at the table with the help. You're letting them get attached to someone who could leave at any moment. She's not going to leave. You don't know that. Catherine moved closer. And people are going to talk. A single billionaire and his live-in housekeeper? It looks improper. I don't care how it looks. You should. Her voice dropped. For the boys' sake. They've lost their mother. They don't need to lose another woman they love. When this inevitably ends. The words burrowed under Marcus's skin like splinters. That evening after Rosa left, Marcus stood in the twins' room watching them sleep. Catherine's words echoed. When this inevitably ends. What if she was right? What if Rosa left like all the others? What if his sons' hearts broke again? By morning, fear had twisted into something uglier. When Rosa arrived, Marcus was waiting. We need to talk. In the library, he couldn't look at her. I think we should go back to the original protocols. The feeding tubes, the regular schedule. Rosa's face went pale. What? Why? The boys are getting too attached, and this, he gestured vaguely, it's too much, too fast. The doctors should evaluate them first. The boys are thriving, or we're setting them up for failure. His voice went cold, detached, the same voice he used in boardrooms. I appreciate what you've done, but I need to think about long-term stability. You're scared, Rosa said quietly. Excuse me? You're scared they love me, scared I'll leave, so you're pushing me out first. Tears filled her eyes. But Marcus, I'm not going anywhere. That's what they all say. The words came out bitter, until they do. So this is it? You're firing me. He forced himself to meet her eyes. I think it's best. Rosa stood there for a moment shaking. Then she pulled off her apron, set it on the chair. You're making a mistake, she whispered. Those boys need consistency, love, and you're taking it away because you're too afraid to trust anyone. She walked out. Marcus stood in the empty library and told himself he'd done the right thing. By day 3, the twins had stopped eating, refused everything Rosa had taught them, went back to just the feeding tubes, just the formulas, just the empty routine. Ethan cried for Rosa every morning. Where, Rosa? Rosa, come back. Evan stopped talking altogether, sat in corners again, rocking, humming that tuneless sound. Mrs. Patterson tried. The new caregiver tried. Nothing worked. On day 5, Marcus found Ethan in the playroom, holding the puzzle they'd done together, the one with the farm animals. The pig piece was missing. Where's the pig, buddy? Give Rosa, Ethan whispered, when she come back. Marcus's heart shattered. That night Mrs. Patterson cornered him. Poor, you need to fix this. I'm protecting them. You're destroying them. Her voice was steel. They were happy, Marcus, actually happy, and you took it away because you're a coward. The word hit like a slap. Ethan hasn't eaten in 5 days, she continued. Evan won't speak. They're disappearing again, and it's your fault. Marcus sat in his study until 3 a.m., staring at nothing. Catherine had been wrong. Rosa hadn't left. He'd driven her away, and his sons were paying the price. By morning, he knew what he had to do. Rosa's apartment was in Queens, 3rd floor walk-up. Marcus stood outside the building at 8 a.m. holding a folder. He climbed the stairs, knocked on apartment 3C. Rosa's sister answered, younger, suspicious. What do you want? I need to talk to Rosa. She doesn't want to talk to you. Please, it's about the boys. The sister's expression softened slightly. Wait here. 5 minutes later, Rosa appeared, eyes red from crying, arms crossed defensively. What? Marcus held out the folder. Open it. She did. Her hands started shaking. $150,000 a year, Marcus said. Full benefits for you and your family. Your sister's nursing school paid for. Your nephew's custody lawyer fees covered. And this, he pulled out another paper, deed to the guest house. It's yours, free and clear. Why would you? Because I was wrong. His voice broke. I was scared and stupid, and I hurt my sons because I was too afraid to trust you. But Rosa, they're dying without you, and I... He stopped, swallowed hard. I can't watch them disappear again. Tears streamed down her face. You humiliated me, threw me away like I was nothing. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. He moved closer. I'm not asking as your employer. I'm asking as a father who failed his sons. Please come back. What about your mother? The gossip? I don't care. Let them talk. Your family, Rosa, and I should have said that from the beginning. She looked at the papers, at the deed, at the future he was offering. Your sons need you to be present, she said finally. Not just there, present. Can you do that? Yes. And you can't fire me every time you get scared. Never again. Rosa wiped her eyes. Then take me home. When they pulled into the driveway, the twins were at the window. The moment Rosa stepped out of the car, both boys started screaming, happy screaming. Marcus opened the front door and they ran, actually ran down the hallway. Rosa, Rosa, come back. She dropped to her knees and caught them both. I'm here, Miss Amores. I'm here and I'm never leaving. Promise? Ethan pulled back, searching her face. Promise. Evan handed her something, the pig puzzle piece. Keep safe. Rosa burst into tears. That night they ate dinner together, all 4 of them, at the kitchen table. Chicken, rice, vegetables. The twins ate slowly, carefully, but they ate. And Marcus was there, actually there, asking about their day, listening to their answers, being present. After the boys were in bed, Rosa found Marcus in the garden. Thank you, he said quietly, for giving us another chance. You showed up, she said. That's all they needed, all they ever needed. He looked at her in the moonlight. This woman who'd saved his family. I was thinking, the guest house. You should move your family here, your sister, your nephew. There's space. Marcus, I'm not asking you to stay because you work here. I'm asking because you're family. He paused, and because somewhere between scrambled eggs and fried chicken, I fell in love with you. Rosa's breath caught. I know it's complicated, he continued. I know people will talk, but I don't care anymore. You brought my sons back to life. You brought me back to life. And if you'll have us... She kissed him, soft, gentle, full of promises neither of them had words for. When they pulled apart, she smiled. Your sons are going to need a mother who shows up every day. Is that a yes? That's a yes. 6 months later, Marcus and Rosa married in the garden. Small ceremony. Ethan and Evan carried the rings, both boys grinning, both boys walking without any help at all. The doctors called it remarkable, unprecedented. Marcus called it grace, because sometimes healing comes wrapped in ordinary hands. Sometimes miracles happen at kitchen tables. Sometimes the greatest wealth isn't money, it's the family you build from broken pieces. And sometimes God sends exactly who you need, exactly when you need them most. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and hit the notification bell. Check out more inspirational stories on your screen now. Where are you watching from? Tell us in the comments below. See you in the next story.